in order to, we had a look at the decarbonizing of countries, and one of them is, well, this is really open to a lot of discussion. But if we look at decarbonizing and moving away from that, America was totally independent of international fuel and oil. And then when they started to remove that, suddenly when Russia started their nonsense, America had to still import some of those materials into their country, basically paying for the Russia to infiltrate Ukraine. So decarbonizing is very, very important. We all know that. But we have to make very sure that when we do the transition, that we are very careful of what impact this could have on the rest of the economy. And the most important thing for me is to make sure that we educate the youngsters to work in an environment, because decarbonizing brings in a lot of new technologies. And it's very important that these youngsters are being educated and trained in the new technologies that are coming along. Thank you, Nancy.
Johan, can you just elaborate on that? The opportunities for young people to move into jobs that are actually very, rely on very sophisticated technology.
Yes, of course. When we look at the current education system, we find that they are concentrating on the teaching people the basics, which is very important to have these basics under the belt. But unfortunately, when we have a look at the laboratories that they are using to teach to people these latest technologies, we find that they are still sitting with very outdated equipment, which means that when they get into industry, they now suddenly they are confronted with these new technologies. And in the past, it was very easy for industry to teach them what these new technologies look like. But unfortunately, the competition amongst these amongst industry and the automation that is happening, there is no longer labs available to teach these youngsters all the new stuff. When they get from education and they go into industry, they must be experts in the equipment that they have been trained on, and not do that in industry. Now industry has got a huge responsibility that they have to take care of and stop complaining about what education is doing and not doing. And that is by providing the education institutions with the latest technology that is available, and then give them the trainer program so that they teach the youngsters the latest technology and know exactly how to work it. So by the time they get into industry, they are just taught about the industry that they're going to work in. For instance, if they go into farming, then this area is, you do this type of farming in this area. If you go into nuclear, this is what a nuclear reactor looks like. If you go into, etc. But the equipment that they're going to use in farming, like drones and all those type of stuff, they must be experts in that. You will not find a farmer that's going to teach them how drones work. As a matter of fact, most of the new old farmers actually do not know how this equipment works. They're depending on the new people coming out of education to implement these things. And now it becomes a very tight game that we have to play, because we have got people in rural areas that are not familiar with this, but we are expecting them to take over some farming responsibilities, but they don't have the skills, or they've got the skills that their father taught them, or their grandfather and the father before him. But the latest technologies he doesn't even have access to. So we have to make very sure that we put a lot of effort in education and training, and because that is where we will be able to get these people to start working in the new era that we are currently facing. Thank you, Yancy.
Thank you very much for that. I think it's an important part of the discussion that hasn't been alluded to thoroughly yet. And that is basically that we're in the 4IR, the fourth industrial revolution. A lot of jobs are expected to be lost to the new technologies. And most of our unemployed people are in fact young people. So with the double whammy, I can say, of the transition to green energy and the fourth industrial revolution, we're looking at a huge hemorrhaging of jobs. And it makes sense to train our young people from the beginning into jobs that will continue to be relevant and will help the country to develop in the direction of new technologies. So thank you very much for that. It's a very important aspect to bring to it. Yes, and then
sorry, Jancy, we are very fortunate that the rest of the world is automating because they don't have a lot of people. The growth in the population is either stagnant or going backwards. South Africa is one of the countries that have got a huge human resource capital available. The only problem is they're not educated. So if we can get them educated, we can really make a huge difference in all the industries and that we are so familiar with.